Star Wars, best place for below average Star Wars.
Hello there, and welcome to the Star Wars Show, a UK-based Star Wars podcast with in-depth discussions and analysis, sprinkled with some silliness. And we are back with our brand new episode. Our last episode last week was all about reviewing Star Wars A Year 2024. This episode, we're going to be looking to the future. It is obviously January 12th as we record this episode. 2025, what does this year have in store for us Star Wars fans? I am the Geordie Jedi Pete.
And I am Jason Hondo Ling.
And as I said before, we are back to sort of deep dive, not review, but to preview what awesome Star Wars lies ahead this year, 2025. I think let's just kick off with, obviously, Star Wars Skeleton Crew. This week was the second last episode. Next week is the finale, I believe. So 2025 ends with the ending of the Star Wars series that debuted last month. I have not watched the penultimate episode, so the episode that aired this week, I have not watched it yet. Jason, over to you, sort of, how do you think Skeleton Crew is looking going into the season finale? And do you think it's going to end on sort of a shockwaves and a big oomph to really give us a oomph Star Wars into 2025? Or is it going to end sort of subtly?
I have a feeling it's going to be subtle, actually. I've sort of reviewed, after watching this week's episode, my opinion sort of changed from last week's episode where I said I thought there was potential for another season. I think they're winding it up quite nicely. There are a few reveals left to come in the last episode. There's a few reveals in the penultimate episode, which I'm not going to spoil, as you haven't watched it either yet, Pete. But no, it's headed to a really nice conclusion, and I'm really pleased. I actually Friday night sat down and watched all of the 7 episodes back to back, leading through to it. And yeah, for me, it's been a really nice experience, and I think it's very Star Wars. It's an adventure. It's aimed at a family audience. It's something that everyone can sit and enjoy together. And overall, I think they've done a really good job of this series.
I'm hoping, obviously I've not seen episode 7 ahead of episode 8 airing this week, or this next week I should say. So, I've got the last 2 episodes to watch as and when they're available. I'm hoping it doesn't need to end with like a big oomph. Sorry to make that noise, but a big like crescendo. But I would love it to end with sort of with lines going off towards sort of the Mandoverse and what Filoni and Favreau are doing, and setting that time frame as we know. So I want to see it really connect to sort of maybe the Mandalorian and Grogu film that we're going to get next summer. Maybe connecting to what we're going to be seeing Thrawn doing in this sort of heir to the Empire in the canon universe. So it's going to be very, very interesting there. Moving on from Skeleton Crew, the next event will probably be Star Wars Celebration, which this year is from Japan, running from the 18th till the 20th of April. Obviously, I am not going to Star Wars Celebration in Japan as it stands. It's just a little bit too much money in this cost of living crisis we are in. Jason, are you going to try and wrangle it, or do you think you're going to be watching from home just like me?
I'm going to be watching from home. I can't justify the expense, and I don't think I can cope with the travelling at the moment. So, I'm going to enjoy it a bit like I did Anaheim previously, watching everything online and joining in. Obviously, missing the fact that, unlike with Celebration Europe, where we were very much in the thick of things, um, but in some ways, I'm quite looking forward to the relax. I'm hoping that we're going to get some nice reveals, hoping a few trailers, and obviously, lots of content with different actors and characters appearing over in Japan. I think I saw today that Sam Witwer's just been announced, which I thought was quite a cool one. That's one person that I'd quite like to meet. So, yeah, no, I think Celebration for me is going to be very different this year to what it was, um, well, nearly 2 years ago now for us. Um, but I will still enjoy it and look forward to seeing what they've been up to.
Definitely, I think for me, going to celebrations is always absolutely fantastic. But I think I've been to, how many have I been to now? Two in London, one in Orlando, and one in Chicago. So I've been to four Star Wars celebrations. Um, I feel quite lucky to be able to do that. Do I want to go to more? Yes. This year's just one too soon, should we say? And Japan would be awesome because you could go there, would go and do all the Disney parks that are in that part of the world, as well as enjoy Star Wars Celebration, but it's not to be. Unless somebody wants to ring us up and pay for our travel to Japan and our tickets and give us passes, we will happily go, but that's probably not going to happen. I'm excited to sort of tune in from home. I think, like you said, Jason, a lot. Some of it will be live streamed. The bits that aren't will be press release from Lucasfilm and the team there, and also there'll be a lot of Star Wars fans there. Some awesome Star Wars podcasts are going to be there. I believe definitely Sky Talkers are going to be there. So we'll find out sort of secondhand from those guys, which will be absolutely wonderful. I think for me, what I'm expecting from there, obviously, Cassian Andor airs on April 22nd, so sort of 2 days after the end of Star Wars Celebration. Cassian Andor starts to air on Disney Plus. That's Andor season 2, which takes us from season 1 of Andor into Rogue One. So I think we'll probably get a premiere event there. We'll definitely show some episodes, and there'll definitely be a panel, I'd imagine, where cast and crew will be talking about what's to come. The things we don't know, movie announcements and things like that. Do you think we're going to get any more movie announcements, or do you think it's going to be more about giving us information on their movie announcements from last year?
I'm not sure. Obviously, there's been a lot of changes since Celebration 2023 or 20. Yeah, it was 23, wasn't it? Um, but obviously, there's been some stuff that was announced that's not necessarily happening. There's stuff that's now moved forward quite rapidly. Um, Obviously, we know we're getting a Mandalorian and Grogu film. I'd like to think we'll get some information about that. There's been a lot of talk going on just recently with James Mangold and his Dawn of the Jedi film. Be interesting to see if any more comes about that. Whether there's any announcements of other stuff that might be popping into the works, or even stuff that's been mentioned previously and gone quiet for a while. Um, I think, I definitely think they're starting to put a plan into place, so we might get some revelations, maybe to steady the ship so that the fans know what's going on, and Celebration is a good point for that to be done. So it'd be interesting to see what Lucasfilm and Disney pull out of their hats. But I think we all know with Celebration, anything can really happen.
It certainly can. I look back to sort of last Celebration, which I know I said was last year. It was actually 2023, all right. And the three movies we got announced was a Dave Filoni movie in the Mando verse, which is not the one he's just done. I don't think so. So although he is doing one in the Mando verse, this is not the one that they announced, in my opinion. They
Yeah.
announced obviously the Dawn of the Jedi film by James Mangold, and they announced the Rey New Jedi Order movie. So Rey New Dialogue movie, as we know, sort of changed writers a couple of times recently. We got some good press, and then it seemed to die out. So that movie is not yet fully written. So hopefully that film will be finished written this year, and then maybe we can start to do pre-production. Um, James Mangold, he was quoted this week, I think, even saying sort of how he would like to have sort of free reign, not be tied too much into canon, which I suppose with the era he'd be dealing with, he would be pretty free to do lots of things, which is cool. But again, it sounds like he hasn't even put pen to paper on that yet, or if he has, it's very early. So again, that's not certainly going to have anything to show us at Star Wars Celebration. And Dave Filoni obviously doing a sort of Mandoverse movie, which again I don't think is what they're actually doing. I think that's probably going to be the last film and going to be after Mando season 4. Obviously, we know now. Obviously, Bob Iger's back into Disney. Mando season 4 is now a film called The Mandalorian and Grogu. That is the next Star Wars film we're getting, which is next summer. Not this summer, but next summer is the first Star Wars movie. And then also that winter, we're penciled in a Star Wars film, technically on the slate, which I don't think will happen. So I just don't think any of these projects we've talked about are anywhere near enough being filmed. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, and do you think maybe is there room for some announcements on these projects, or are they closer to completion than I'm saying, do you think, Jason?
I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think, the Mandalorian and Grogu, I'm convinced, like you, was what we were going to get for season 4. I think they've compressed that down into a film. So obviously, Dave Filoni, we know, is busily working on Ahsoka at the moment, so that's not going to leave him much time to be able to do a Mandoverse film, unless, which I think could be a possibility, we get season 2 of Ahsoka, and then they move straight into maybe concluding the Thrawn arc with a film, almost like they've done with Mando. They could carry on the Ahsoka story, do season 2, and then lead into a film which would finish off that as a trilogy almost. So that's a possibility, I suppose. But again, I don't think any of that will be anywhere near being ready for 2026. I think after The Mandalorian and Grogu, we're looking at 2027 before we get another film. Which isn't a bad thing. We know what's happened in the past where they've tried churning out 2 films a year. Um, I think everyone would be happy with just one really good film a year, or even a really good film every 2 years. But we've had a little bit of a wait now, so it'd be quite nice to get back on target, so to speak.
Definitely. Obviously, this year also marks, I believe it is it 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith? So do you
Yeah, I
think we
believe
could get
so.
any special Revenge of the Sith type panel celebration?
Definitely could be. There's it's been very, the guests or the people appearing have been coming out in quite slow drips and drabs. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see who they get there for Revenge of the Sith. Um, it would be a good time to do something, and let's face it, the love for that film over the last few years, especially with like how the Obi-Wan series then went on and explored parts of that, I think it would make it a really popular panel to have there.
It certainly would, and I'm sure there'll be some fantastic 20th anniversary Revenge of the Sith merchandise at Star Wars Celebration as well, which I'm jealous I will not be there to buy. It's also 10-year anniversary of The Force Awakens, believe it or not.
I know, crazy.
So I wonder if we'll get a little Force Awakens panel celebrating 10 years.
Definitely a possibility. And there's the thing is with Star Wars, there's anniversaries for everything popping up now, which is great for us because it means that they get these people out talking about what they did all those years ago. I find it hard. It seems to me like it was only yesterday that the Force Awakens was hitting the big screen, and to think it is actually 10 years, and to think, what is it now? Is it 5 or 6 years since the Rise of Skywalker? So it's
Yeah,
been quite a long time.
certainly has. Obviously, animation wise, there's usually a Star Wars animation panel, like a Lucasfilm animation panel at Star Wars Celebration. Now, the only thing we're aware of really is Star Wars Vision Season 3, which is obviously all made out of house. It's done by sort of other anime studios in collaboration with Lucasfilm. So we'll probably get something on Visions there, but do you think we'll get anything else animation wise?
I'm hoping we're going to get an announcement. I really am hoping. It's been the Bad Batch, what, over a year ago now it's finished. So I think it's about time. And with the animated stuff, Disney are very good at keeping it quiet and then bam, hitting you with it. Um, and for me, the time's gone far enough that I'm hoping we'll get an announcement. Whether it's continuing Omega's story, whether it's something completely different, whether it's High Republic. I don't think it would be, but it's a possibility. But there's so many possibilities with the animated stuff that they could go, that I'm certain they've got to have been working on something at Lucasfilm Animation.
I hope there is something, because if you think about this year, obviously Skeleton Crew's about to finish, and then in April we get, sorry, the end of April we get Cassian Andor Season 2. But then other than that, if you don't include Visions, then there's like no other Star Wars projects coming to Disney Plus or cinemas for the rest of the year. So it means we
Yeah,
have to go from, all of summer and then all of autumn and all of winter without any new Star Wars. So there
yeah,
must be
that's
something
why I'm
for the back
convinced
end of the
there's.
year, do you think?
Yeah, I definitely think there's something brewing. And celebration is the perfect place for that announcement to be made. So I'm expecting something with big fanfare from Lucasfilm Animation, and as you know, I love animated stuff apart from one series. So
And then looking at sort of Star Wars video games, I haven't seen any major games planned to release this year. We might get an announcement at Star Wars Celebration of sort of the next big game that they're doing. Maybe, people have said that the Star Wars Jedi Survivor series could be a trilogy. Obviously, we've had Jedi. Which way did it go? I
is
can't
it
remember quite
Fallen
remember
Order?
the two Star Wars Jedi games where you play as Cal Kestis. So I don't know if the third one is in development or has been developed, but that could possibly be announced. But I don't think it'll be ready to play this year. Um, so yeah, so that's going to be another year where sort of there's going to be nothing really new on that front. Um, is there anything video game wise or publishing wise that you're excited for this year?
Not really. It's funny. I was looking around just before we came on. Obviously, I think the only literature announcement that I think begins this year with is it Reign of the Empire, which is a trilogy of books that they're doing, looking at the early days of the Empire through the eyes of Saw Gerrera, Mon Mothma, and I can't remember whether it was Bail Organa, or let me have a look. I was looking at it 2 seconds ago. Um, but that's about the only real literature thing. Obviously, there's the ongoing comic books that I've really got to catch up with. I know they've been doing like the Battle of Jakku and stuff like that, and I'm hoping this year I'm going to actually manage to get my head into the comic books. That's it. Reign of the Empire: The Mask of Fear. So that's looking, yeah, as I suspected, Mon Mothma, Saw Gerrera, and Bell Organa, which again sort of links into what they've done with Andor. But I think that could be an interesting sort of look at how the the fallen republic deal with the rise of Palpatine, and obviously eventually what leads to the Rebel Alliance, and three characters that are getting more and more time spent on them. So yeah, that's something to look forward to.
It certainly is. After all celebration is finished, obviously, as I said, we will get season 2 of Andor. They've tagged on a Star Wars story tagline, which ties it more into. It's going to be more like Rogue One than season 1 was, I believe. They've already told us that we're going to be getting Orson Krennic is going to be in season 2, as is K2SO. Just what's your thoughts going into Cassian Andor season 2, and how excited are you for these characters who were so big, had a huge part in the Rogue One film, to be finally coming to the series?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I really do enjoy. I enjoyed the first season of Andor. I'm looking forward to seeing more of how everything leads us to Rogue One. Um, I really, really can't wait to see the early relationship of Andor and K2SO. I think that's going to be really fun to be explored on the screen. Obviously, they sort of teased that when they originally announced the Andor series, because they had Diego Luna and Alan Tudyk up on stage saying we're coming back, and then the whole of the first season we didn't get K2SO. So I think it's going to be really good to get that character into the series. So yeah, it's something I, I have to admit. The more I think about it, the Mon Mothma character intrigues me with the way she works and her like home life that we've seen. I want to find out more about possibly where that goes wrong or doesn't go wrong. Yeah, all in all, the Andor series really gripped me, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they lead us up to what we already know is Rogue One.
I'm very excited to see both Orson Krennic and K2SO, and I'm very excited to see how he gets K2SO and reprograms him, especially his bad experience he had in season 1 with the K2 security droid that led him getting arrested and going to jail, and that whole
Yeah.
horrible thing that happened sort of in the prison. How are you feeling about the episodes? I believe it's taking place. There's a year that separates each 4 episode arc, which will take us straight into Rogue One. Do you think that's like a good storytelling tool, or do you think it hinders it a bit?
Um, I think it's. I think they've obviously had to plan carefully how they're going to get to it. There's a lot that we as fans are really hoping that they can squeeze in. So obviously there's a lot to tell in the episodes that they've got. But if they work the way that they did with the first season, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Obviously, you know, we saw in that first season, we saw quite an arc of Cassian's character, and how he was heading towards the character that we meet in Rogue One. So I think it's quite clever the way they've come up with this idea of splitting the series down, and clearly saying this is how we're going to do it. So we can just sit back and watch, and enjoy the journey.
We certainly can. I think Andor season 2 is going to be quite different. I think it's going to be different. Like Andor was different to other Star Wars. I think it's going to be the same again, which is going to be great. But I think the fact it's going to then tie so, I believe, seamlessly into Rogue One, very similar to what the novel Catalyst did to the movie. I think this is going to be the same. and it's going to be a really gratifying experience. Then watch the Cassian Andors, read that book, and then watch Rogue One. It'll be like one giant experience, which will be very, very exciting.
Yeah.
Obviously, we couldn't talk about a Star Wars year in preview 2025 without talking about maybe some of the merch we could be getting this year. As I said, it is the 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith. We've already seen a really cool 20th anniversary logo for it, and there will most definitely be merch released with the armors, t-shirts, hoodies, also action figures, Lego sets, I imagine, and quite possibly the same with The Force Awakens on its 10th anniversary. I don't know if you want to take us through the Lego sets that are, being talked about and rumoured and not planned for this year, and talk us through which ones you're definitely going to want.
Yeah, I think as I said in the previous episode, Lego have already this year um, thrown in a couple of real nice sets that I'm going to have to try and get. We got, for one, there's Ahsoka's Jedi Interceptor, um, and the Arc 170 Starfighter, which were released 1st of January. But we've got other rumoured or confirmed sets. Um, there's rumours of a micro scale recreation of the Millennium Falcon, which could be fun. There's a lot of miniature versions of the Millennium Falcon, and people do like collecting those. That'll be fun. The one that I've seen that I quite like the look of, and is rumoured to be coinciding with obviously Andor season 2 and Rogue One, is another version of the U-wing, which is quite a cool ship. So it'd be interesting to see what they do with that. But again, um, it depends on how they're going to do the build. The next one that I saw that really does, another one that I'll probably have to get is Plo Koon's Microfighter, because Plo Koon is a brilliant, brilliant character. So the chance to get a decent minifigure at quite a reasonable price will be really cool. Um, One of the sets that I haven't really got into the range that they've done of these, they've now done Grogu with a hover pram. I think Grogu as a character has had the most Lego kits created for him over the few years that he's been about. But this came out January the 1st, and it was, you've got the Grogu character to build, but you've also got the floating pram, and you've also got a replica of the little frog. So it's a it's one of those kits that if you like those sort of display pieces, and if you're a big fan of Grogu, that's perfect. Um, they've released, I think it was two of the MIDI scale kits came out January the 1st. So you've got a Acclamator class assault ship and the Home One Star Cruiser. These again, really nice display kits, which Lego's going more and more towards the display kits, and they're not too bad priced. I think 45 and 70 quid. So not too bad for some nice little display pieces if that's the sort of thing that you want to do. One that's rumoured, and they're talking about release of May, and that's Kylo Ren's shuttle, which could be, would fit in quite nicely with obviously the anniversary of Force Awakens, so it makes sense. Um, it's going to be a MIDI scale set apparently, So you won't get any minifigures, no new Kylo Ren minifigures, but it'll be again a nice one for displaying. One that's quite interesting. Not sure how I feel about this. They've done it with the Marvel logo, and now apparently they're going to do a buildable Lego logo. Um, yeah, I'm not sure. Uh, Depending on price and everything, um, whether it's something that I need for my collection. Uh, this year, there's actually rumours that they're going back to producing some of the helmets that they didn't produce any last year. And the current rumoured ones are Jango Fett's helmet, which I would definitely want to get to go with my Boba Fett and Mandalorian. And the other one is an AT-AT driver helmet, which looks pretty cool. Well, I would have thought that'd be quite a cool one, and quite an interesting build because it's basically um, cross between the Stormtrooper helmet and the X-wing, not X-wing, Tie Fighter helmet. So that'd be quite an interesting build, I would have thought. Another one another set that came out in January was Mando and Grogu's M1 Starfighter, but as a microfighter, and that's going to be popular because you get a nice R5 droid with that one. So that's a good way of getting a R5 droid. Um, the rumored UCS kit for this year is Jango Fett's starship. So obviously the original Slave One sort of design. That Yeah, I'd be interested in that one. Looking at it, the rumored price is $240, so not a bad little kit. There's also last year they brought out the was it last year or the year before, the mech figures. So I think you had Vader, Stormtrooper. I think there was a X-wing pilot one. The rumored one for this year is Darth Maul, which will be one that will be quite popular, I think. And the minifigure is going to be the same one that came with the Duel on Mandalore set. And the battle pack this year, if it is true, it'll be one that I think a lot of people will go for, and that's the Death Trooper and Night Troopers. So that'd be quite a cool set going back to the Ahsoka series. And how did I miss that helmet? Also, our very own Cat will definitely want to go for this one because there is a rumor that they're going to bring out a version of Kylo Ren's helmet for that collection. And then another cool one which I would definitely be tempted with, and that's a buildable chopper droid. I know you sort of got that with the set they brought out last year where you could make up the miniature droids, but that one to me, being a big chopper fan and Rebels fan, that'd definitely be tempting. And there's also rumours that there's going to be a buildable Ewok, similar to what they did with the buildable Chewie. Be interesting to see how they go about that. I know when it first came out, the buildable Chewie wasn't very popular, but I have to admit, as the years gone by, a lot of people have found a bit of love with that and actually said that's quite a clever build. So it'd be interesting to see how they get on with an Ewok. Would it be Wicket? That'd probably prove to be very popular if they did do that. And then there's a rumoured second set from the season of Andor, second season of Andor, but at the moment we don't know what that is. So yeah, there's a lot of Lego goodness, a lot of tempting things, a lot of stuff that I probably would give a miss. But overall, it's looking like a good year to be a Lego fan.
Certainly sounds like a lot is planned, which is absolutely fantastic. I think when we've reviewed actual sort of, or previewed even actual Star Wars projects, compared to last year to this year ahead, this year's going to have a bit less, but looks like Lego are more than making up for that. I mean, look, it's sort of
Yeah,
all our merch as well, the Hasbro, the Vintage Collection, I think already up for pre-order is sort of the journey of Anakin Skywalker. So you get Anakin Skywalker in his Clone Wars attire, you get Anakin Skywalker as Darth Vader from Revenge of the Sith, so his battle with Obi-Wan basically, and then you get Darth Vader just before he turns back to the good side and saves Luke. So that's a Vintage Collection 3-pack, and that's now open for pre-order on Hasbro Pulse. I'm thinking about Black Series, and I would love to see us get Anakin and Obi-Wan figures in the Hasbro Black Series that come sort of with the paint hits and the paint deco hits of the Mustafar duel. So bits of ash, bits of lava, burns on them. I think would be really cool. I also think you could also release Anakin and Obi-Wan as pilots in the Black Series line. Now, the Black Series hasn't done many vehicles. When The Force Awakens came out, there was like a deluxe First Order TIE Fighter came out. That's the biggest vehicle that's done in the Black Series so far. And then there was also a Rey's speeder, Luke's speeder from A New Hope, and then there was the Dewback, which isn't a vehicle but it's an animal. And then I believe we have had the Stap from the Phantom Menace be released. But other than that, that's all the vehicles we've had in the Black Series line. Obviously, it's hard to make, the Millennium Falcon and Black Series because how do you ship that? How do you sell that? How do you even display it and play it? But for me, the Jedi Starfighters, the Jedi Interceptors that Anakin and Obi-Wan have in Revenge of the Sith that they use to board Grievous' ship and save the Chancellor, and then you also see them use them throughout the rest of the movie. I think those would probably be smaller because their wings are smaller than the TIE Fighter that we got for The Force Awakens. So imagine sort of a Black Series Deluxe box where you get Anakin with Anakin's Jedi Starfighter and you get Obi-Wan with Obi-Wan's Jedi Starfighter. I'm not saying they need to do the hyperspace ring. I mean, still, because that has a lot of empty space, that could fold out and make the ring and become rigid, I suppose. So there's definitely ways of doing it. What's your thoughts on the Black Series vehicles, Jason? And then what's your thoughts on
yeah.
am I making sense or am I being silly? That's what I want you to tell me, buddy.
No, I definitely think it's an opportunity that Hasbro could explore. Whether there's rights issues and that's why they've not moved forwards with, because I know obviously there's a lot of going to and fro between the different companies that who does what parts of Star Wars in their ranges, whether that's a reason. But yeah, for me, it's a missed opportunity really, because those little starfighters, because they are smaller ships to what they're smaller than an X-wing as far as I know, so they'd fit really nicely to quite a good range of display pieces, which is what people that collect Hasbro like to do. So yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. It's either a missed opportunity or there's a reason. It'd be interesting to find out if there is a reason. But yeah, that sort of thing. Hasbro, there's so many things that they could pull out of their hats. I think they could make figures forever.
They could indeed. Also, Star Wars merchandise. If you look at the Star Wars Unlimited card game that I know you're a fan of, Jason,
I
do
was
you know if
just
there's
about
any
to bring
rumours?
that up.
Yeah, do you know what the sort of the rumored next few sets are for this year are going to be?
The only thing I know is obviously the announcement we've already had for the next range, which I believe is due to come out in March sort of time. I can't remember the name of it. They've changed the way they're doing the unlimited range. It's evolving as always, and so we're also getting a new range of premium cards, which is the Carbonite edition premium booster packs, and they look quite cool. That's it. Jump to light speed. That's the next phase of Star Wars Unlimited, which I think, if I remember rightly, got a feeling the leaders that we're going to get for that, I've got a feeling it's Boba Fett. Trying to remember what the starter pack comes as. Is it Boba Fett and Han? No, I can't find the details at the moment. Um, oh no, that's right. A two-player starter won't be part of the product lineup. So we got Spotlight decks, and they're pre-built decks that contain a mixture of cards from multiple sets and also 5 rarity cards. So yeah, so we got Spotlight decks, which I believe are going to be Han Solo. Yeah, I've definitely got Han Solo, and I've got a feeling there's going to be a Boba Fett. Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. So it's Boba Fett and Han Solo on the Spotlight things. So which might make it, instead of buying a starter pack with 2, you can maybe pick one of the decks to choose from, or you can start collecting and building your own decks. But also, I should mention, Game Genic are bringing out, who do a wide range of accessories to go with Star Wars Unlimited stuff. They've got some awesome games mats coming out. There's one with set extra wide one, which has got the Millennium Falcon being chased by TIE fighters. That looks quite cool. Very tempted to get myself that when it comes out. I've already got the large 2-player game mat from Game Genic, and that's brilliant. That's ready. Couple weeks time, I'm going over to a friend's for a weekend of Unlimited, so that will be rolled out. But yeah, as Unlimited goes, it's growing. Um, I think we're expecting another, at least one more release, maybe 2 sets this year. Um, which just means that the range keeps growing and means there's more for me to spend my money on.
It certainly does. The world keeps rotating and we keep spending money on Star Wars. That's just how we like it. Speaking of Star Wars merch, I think it's probably the last thing about it is obviously we don't know when the next HasLab will be. So HasLab is obviously where Hasbro put together a sort of a unique and deluxe offering that has to be backed, and only those who back it receive it. So the last thing was the Vintage Collection Ghost. Previous releases have been the Vintage Collection Razor Crest and the Vintage Collection Jabba's Sail Barge. We've also had a couple of failures, things that didn't get backed, which was a Black Series Rancor and also a Reva Third Sister Lightsaber that did not get backed. With the cost of living crisis, I think a lot of across the world now, not just in the UK, I think companies are sort of catching on to that, and sort of a gap in the sales. Do you What do you think the HasLab's going to be, if there is going to be a new Star Wars one? And do you think we're looking at something more in the Vintage Collection line or in the Black Series line?
I'll be honest. I'm I'm not sure how. There's so many different things that they could do. I don't know how they even pick what they're going to do. But I don't know. The vintage collection seems to be something that appeals more, I think, than the Black Series stuff.
The reason
And
why it
more and
appears
more
more is
people,
because that's the classic 3¾ inch scale from Kenner
yeah,
all the way through to Hasbro. The prequels, like they've all been that line's been available. So I think that's the main line because that's just the main line. That's just what people collect, 3¾ inch. Um,
yeah, yeah.
I'm
The
I'm
thing
sort of
is, there's
torn.
so much.
I'm sort of torn. Some I would love to have a Black Series one finally backed, but like the Rancor, the stretch goals as we talked about was stupid. Like I feel they could have easily got that back with like one to had the first stretch goal as Ula. He would have had it back straight away. So I think for me, it's the whole package. It's what it actually is, and then what the stretch goals are, and are they worth it, and are they things people want, and then people will come and buy it. Um, but I have a feeling I would love for it to be Black Series. They have another chance to try and get something made that way. But again, the Black Series scale hinders it a bit. You know, the Rancor's probably the biggest that can go in the Black Series line. So it's 6 inch scale, where the 3¾ inch line allows them a lot more. You know, the Ghost is absolutely huge, biggest thing I've ever done. But because it's in that scale, it works. Um, so I imagine it's probably going to be 3¾ inch vintage collection, and you know, hopefully it's something cool. Maybe we get a new Millennium Falcon. Who knows?
That'd be a popular choice.
It certainly would.
There's,
I know the last Falcon we got in that collection was the Galaxy's Edge one that came with Hondo and Chewbacca. And
that
it was a
must have
really good Falcon, but
been.
even that's slightly not to the same scale as what the Ghost is, so it would be bigger if they redid that. So that would be pretty wild. Is there anything other merch wise that you're excited for this year?
Um, no, I think I always like to look and see what helmets are coming out. Obviously, Moff Gideon came out tail end of last year. That's one that I really was tempted by, but I haven't bit yet. Um, there's my my concentration at the moment is pretty much unlimited. I'm really getting into that. So that's where I tend to look. Obviously, there's more and more ships coming out from the Micro Galaxy squadron, but I'd love to have collected more of that, but just trying to source the ships and that in the UK, the prices, the distribution, it's just turned into a minefield. So I've sort of let that side of collecting go. My love is collecting. You know, I do it with the Lego. I love collecting the ships with the Legos um, kits, and I'd love to have carried on more with the Micro Galaxy Squadron. But one, it was room, and two, it was just trying to get the ones that I wanted. You know, I was lucky enough to get the Galaxy's Edge one, which was the one that I really, really wanted. So I've got two Millennium Falcons there. But there's constantly stuff coming out from Jazzwares, but it's just trying to get a hold of it.
No, it certainly isn't. A lot of their stuff's going directly through Jazzbear's Vault, which is their version of Hasbro Pulse, but it seems to be US based, which is a bit tricky for us here in the United Kingdom and Europe. That's what brings us to talk about the Star Wars merch. Obviously, something big that is happening. Maybe not as big as Star Wars Celebration, but obviously Star Wars are teaming back up again with the Jedi Archives UK store to bring us Dorchester Strikes Back 2, which is DSB 2025. Jason is sort of the main cook, the super chef who cooks up the Dorchester Strikes Back. Do you want to talk us through what you can so far, I suppose, about sort of when's it going to be, how many days, what can we expect?
At the moment, it's a 1 day event. We would like feedback as to whether people would like a 2 day event. But at the moment, it's 1 day. We will be hopefully end of this month, beginning of next month, catching up with all of the guys from the different groups, and trying to tie down different people for different things. Um, it's we've got a lot of ideas and a lot of exciting stuff. We want to have more stuff going on for people to interact with different characters. I'm trying to find a suitable group for doing lightsaber dueling because the venue's perfect for setting up a little arena. Um, so we've got that. Obviously, myself and Steve will be working on podcast content, and live stuff on the stage. I want to do more competitions for the crowds. So that seemed to be really popular. But for me, it was getting the kids involved as well. So we try and come up with a few ideas on that. And it's quite funny. I've just opened up the website to have a look, and there's a brilliant photograph of Vader with a group of kids all holding their plastic lightsabers. And I think that was just a really, really cool thing to be able to do. Um, so if you're interested in finding out about Dorchester Strikes Back, there is a website which is dorchesterstrikesback.co.uk. On there, there is a section for contact us. So we really want people who may be interested in taking part. So last year I did try, but the time scale was difficult. So like if we've got any artists, any crafters, anyone who produces like replica costuming gear, then contact us because we'd really like to get you involved. We're hoping to have a lot more room. There is a chance that we're going to have part of the street closed off, so we'll have a bigger area for maybe setting up stands and different things. So we should have a lot more that we'll be able to do. Having done the first event, we now know that we can get support for doing extra bits on the day. So really, this for our first sort of New Year shout out. If you're interested in getting involved, go to the website and fill out the contact form. Get in touch with Ben and myself, because we are really actively starting to plan now, ready to move forward so that we've got a great event for that weekend in August. And we're looking for as many of the groups that want to get involved that we can get involved, so that we can really fill Brewery Square with lots of exciting characters and make it a real event to remember.
No, that certainly sounds exciting, and I'm hoping to make it there myself, hopefully, should costs and time allow it. Something else I'm looking forward to in 2025 is listening to some awesome Star Wars podcasts that I like listening to. As I said, Sky Talkers by Charlotte and Caitlin only goes from strength to strength every year, and I'm very much looking forward to what they bring this year. Obviously, the Dorky Diva herself, Savannah, with new co-host Tori. The Dorky Diva show is back, which is absolutely fantastic. I've been enjoying listening to that at the end of last year. Great to have those guys back. And the Star Wars Sessions boys. Again, great Star Wars podcast I really do enjoy listening to. Is there any Star Wars podcasts or Star Wars content or blogs that you like to listen to, Jason, that you would think people should check out?
I really enjoy Katie Sackhoff's content that she's putting out at the moment, which is really fun. She's recently done an episode with Emily Swallow. Really, she she obviously doesn't just do Star Wars, but a lot of the Star Wars actors that she's worked with come on to her show. That's really cool. I want to give Jez, the running stormtrooper, a shout out because I know his podcast, Generation Skywalker, they are sort of having a bit of a relaunch themselves at the moment. So he's putting out more content and that. So if you can find Generation Skywalker, give the guys a listen to there. Very similar to Pete and myself with their love of Star Wars. And they're the. I have to admit that's one of my New Year's resolutions is to listen to more podcast content. Anyone come up with any other suggestions, please let me know.
I am sure they will. Is there anything about 2025 and Star Wars that we haven't mentioned that you want us to cover, Jason?
Not that I can think of. It's it's one of those years that at the moment there's not a huge amount that I can think of that's going to happen, but there's a lot that I'm hoping will happen.
Exactly. I don't think we're going to be as blessed as we were in 2024 with the sheer amount of content, but I think, you know, we're getting the end of Skeleton Crew, we're getting the whole of Cassian Andor Season 2, you know, we're hopefully getting a Secret Star Wars animation, we are getting Vision Season 3. I imagine we're going to get some High Republic publishing along with that new Kylo Ren comic book from Charles Soule, I believe. So there is some cool stuff there, and again, you spoke about the Lego stacked Lego releases this year. Like I said, although we haven't got the Hasbro releases, I imagine hopefully we're going to get some awesome tie-ins to Revenge of the Sith 20th anniversary and The Force Awakens 10th anniversary. We're probably, hopefully, we'll get Revenge of the Sith in the cinemas in May for the anniversary. Would you go and watch it in the cinema if that comes out in May as a re-release to celebrate the anniversary?
Yeah, I think I probably would.
From watching,
Yeah,
obviously, lately, you know, did Empire, did Return of the Jedi. Obviously, last year was Phantom Menace, and then obviously last year, certainly in England, they re-released the whole saga, which was pretty cool, apart from Solo. So, you know, I took advantage of most of that. So, any excuse to see it on the big screen is absolutely wonderful. I certainly cannot wait to check that out. What can you expect from us, the Star Wars team, in 2025? We're looking to hopefully bring weekly episodes where possible. We've started off pretty good. You know, we've done one episode last week. We've got an episode this week. So next week, when we record, Skeleton Crew will be finished. So our next episode will be our Skeleton Crew deep dive review, where myself and Jason and maybe Star Wars Ian will be deep diving the whole season of Skeleton Crew, talking spoilers, talking all the best bits, all the bad bits, and talking about how it ties into the Star Wars universe. So I'm quite looking forward to that. And then from there, you know, rest of the year we're going to be, you know, reviewing these Star Wars projects as and when they come up, talking the Star Wars news as and when they come up, and of course always talking about what Star Wars merch we're buying, what Star Wars merch we wish we were buying, and you know the odd few bits of Star Wars merch that we think that is just a repaint. Stop it, Hasbro. But no, very very exciting times ahead. And we're also looking to do our Patreon episodes, hopefully starting again in the next month. But there'll be more about that as we go on. But as we wrap things up, Jason, where can people find you on social media?
at Hondo Ling as always.
And you can find myself on social media on Instagram and on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Geordie Jedi Pete. You can also find the podcast on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Boars Star. And you can also find the podcast everywhere else. I'm talking Instagram, I'm talking LinkedIn, I'm talking TikTok, I'm talking Facebook, everywhere else at Star Wars Podcast. Please give us a follow and interact with us there. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify Music, please leave us a 5-star review. A lovely little sentence. Keeps me and Jason smiling all day. Only takes you a few moments, and it does help people find the show. If you are listening on any of the other wonderful podcast applications out there, there is quite a lot now, and it has a feature to rate the show again. Just a top review, as many stars as you can. Lovely little sentence again. Keeps us smiling all day long, and it helps people find the show. But without further ado, may the force be with you all. Happy 2025. And remember, always tell that to Kanja Club.